Hi guys. So this is a really quick edit of an image that was just taken in my living room early in the morning with the sunlight streaming in and creating these magical shadows and highlights. And I just wanted to accentuate that scene. And so I just want to show you quickly how I shoot the scene through my iPhone and then quickly edit it in SnapSeed, one of my favorite editing tools for the iPhone. So when you see an image with a very good contrast of bright sunlight and possibly shadows, the first thing I do is just on a regular phone, an iPhone or even a like a Samsung or any sort of smartphone, click on the image, the area where you want the shadows, you want to bring out the shadows. So I just hold the exposure down in the darkened areas, the relatively darkened areas of the frame, and you will get an exposure lock, and then you will see a sunbeam image. So just if you push this, if you use your finger and kind of scroll down the sunbeam, you will see that the image gets visibly darker, and the flip is also true if you hold down the image, the sunbeam, and kind of scroll your fingers up top, the entire scene gets brighter, so the exposure is increased. So in this particular example, the sun was shining from my kitchen window and just fell so beautifully on my coffee table, and a couple of African dolls that were a gift from a friend, and I really wanted the sunlight to just be focused on that particular area of the image, and I wanted to darken everything else. So I kind of clicked on the image, I clicked on the shadow area, and I pulled it down. So I kind of pointed my fingers down on the screen until I got an image that was fairly dark. But you could still see the couch, you could still see the rest of the coffee table, my dog's bed on the side. So that's kind of where I stopped in on the iPhone and quickly took the shot. Next, I bring the image into SnapSeed, which is my favorite editing tool on the iPhone. It's free, and it's the functionality mimics a lot of what I use in Lightroom on my computer, so I really like it. It's very intuitive. Now, once you open up SnapSeed, you can essentially tap anywhere on the screen, and what it does is it will display your camera roll. So you can actually select the image that you want. I'm going to choose the one that I've already kind of darkened when I was actually taking the picture. So I pull that into SnapSeed, and now I'm going to just add a few finishing touches. The first thing I adjust is the temperature, because I want it to be a little warmer than what it is here, because the sunlight was quite warm when I was actually taking the picture. So you can click on the tools, and it brings up a whole slew of tools that some of which we're going to use. I click on temperature, which is the white balance, and I can use a slider up top and warm up the image. You can see it's considerably warm. Now I'm going to choose the curves tool. So I go back to the tools. I use curves, which again adds a lot of contrast between the light and the dark areas. I use one of the predetermined filters that they have. And so I choose the second to the left, and I want to add on to this. So I will actually use my finger and darken by pulling the curve down a little. I'm kind of darkening the dark areas, which is what I want. You can see it adjusting as you kind of move your finger along the curves. Now I want to add a little bit more in terms of the brush tool, because I can still see some of the lightened portions of the image, namely the couch in the back. So I go to the brush tool, I drop the exposure because it's going to be the exposure brush, and I actually use my finger, which is super convenient. I use my finger, and I just kind of go over the areas on the screen that I want to darken, and you can see it's kind of darkening those areas that are kind of bright, that the curves didn't quite adjust. Next, I feel like I want to warm this up a little bit more. So I'm going to go back to tools. I'm going to go back to the white balance and just add a tad bit of warmth further. And it warms up the image. This looks pretty good and kind of what I had in mind. Now I'm going to crop it because I wanted to actually use this image on my Instagram stories. So I go into the crop tool, and I use the 16:9 ratio, which is what IG Stories uses, and I'm essentially done. I like the way it looks. I like the fact that the African dolls and this beam of light is the only thing that's bright. I will export it, and that's it. It just saves it to the camera roll, and I can use it wherever I want. So very easy and super convenient. I love Snapseed.